Kid shows. Young and old, we still go back to the blessed days of pre-film SpongeBob and pre-Sparky, post-Poof days of Fairly OddParents. I love Poof, don't hate me. Those days came and went. The timeline of the ups and downs of our dear childhood distractions can be compared to the extinction graph. Out of all these blunders, I'd say we can all agree that SpongeBob was hit the hardest. A pal for Gary, pet sitter Pat, boating buddies, shuffleboarding, all of them terrible. And while these events were not at all limited to SpongeBob, again, it was impacted the hardest due to its prime time being so phenomenal. But let's cut to the chase. What was the worst? Like, the worst of the worst? Well, that response is going to be split amongst many. However, even as a kid, there was no episode, no film, yes, worse than those. Worse than any of the worst that SpongeBob had to offer. An episode so bad that the reaction from fans was so negative that the writer of the episode herself, Lauren Faust, had to apologize for it and completely write it out of canon. The Season 2 Foster's episode, everyone knows it's Bendy. This episode was so garbage. I loved Foster's as a kid. It was far from my favorite, but it was damn good. However, I will admit it did have a few episodes that left me rather... but none was worse than Bendy. It's safe to say we know why, but I'm gonna go into greater detail. And yes, I'm forcing you all to join me. So the storm begins when we have upset parents dropping off Bendy to the Foster's home, claiming that Bendy is nothing but trouble. And Frankie and Harriman refuse to believe them. Yeah, that's the biggest complaint about this episode that we will well get into as we move along.
Softballs through windows, mysterious long-distance charges, missing power tools, every single rule in the house broken.
Why is she doing that? Why are they immediately suspecting that kid? I suppose you could say that he was making somewhat guilty gestures, but that's hardly set in stone. Also, why does Bendy look like he's innocent? Did they want him to be perceived as the villain or not? It seemed like Lauren really didn't know what she was going for. Trust me, when you watch this episode more than once and see this scene for a second and third time, it's gonna hit different, and not in a good way.
Have you considered that perhaps it is not Bendy performing these acts, but your son instead?
What?
Sometimes kids blame their imaginary friends for things they've done themselves. I assure you that our son would never lie to us.
Okay, it would make complete sense why this episode would be written out of canon. When was it ever implied that this is a common thing amongst imaginary friends? Last I checked, the biggest troublemaker in the entire show is in fact an imaginary friend. Also, the parents claiming that their son never lies hits way too close to home. Of course, every parent would believe that their child would never lie to them, and any of us who grew up, well, at all, damn well knows that this isn't the case. But they're outing this belief towards someone who isn't the culprit.
But I didn't do anything. You gotta believe me. I never did any of those things. I swear.
We believe you, Bendy.
Wow, they really sold that scene. I'm impressed, but it also makes things worse. They believe Bendy because of an on-the-spot statistic that is no way backed up by what we knew about the show.
Yeah! Oh, nice!
Hey, new guy, wanna play winner?
That was literally the next scene. I think we all know where this is going.
What the heck was that all about?
Oh my god, that was the most genuine reaction I have ever fucking heard.
This stripy, spiky-haired yellow dude just waltzed in here and knocked it over for, like, no reason.
You mean Bendy?
Why, whatever is going on?
We saw you knock over those flowers.
But I was in the... Oh no! It's happening again!
You guys, how could you?
Blaming this poor innocent just after he was falsely accused by his own family.
Making trouble and blaming it on the new guy.
There's a lot to unpack here. First of all, how far could he have gone down the same hallway they came in and not see him? How can 4 of their closest members of the house claim they saw something and they do not believe them? And why is Bendy's acting so good that it pisses me off? Say what you will, but a big round of applause for Bendy's voice actor. God damn.
What the heck just happened?
Haha, as well as Blue's. So we then get a really boring, infuriating montage of Bendy doing bad things and literally everyone else getting blamed for them. Now you could make the argument that it's hard to believe them because they actually have the evidence in hand, but if this happened this many times and Bendy is always there, this is cause for speculation. Oh, come on, Frankie, you really think Will would do something like that? It wasn't just Bendy's actions that got this episode slaughtered. It was how out of character Frankie and Harriman are.
Give me that.
Oh, for goodness goodness sake, Master Blue.
He did it.
I mean, oh gosh, why does this keep happening to me?
Seriously, none of this is fun to watch. If you want to say, well, it's a kid's show. Kids don't know everything, but they aren't brain-dead koalas. Kids know the difference between something that's good and something that's bad. That's why SpongeBob took the massive nosedive that it did, because when we were young, we noticed how stupid the show got. When I was a kid, I hated this. There's nothing fun about this. It's mean, it's sad, it's unfair, there's no sense of relief or karmic justice. It's just terrible. Okay, I absolutely love Blue in this episode. Well, mostly. So with how everyone gets punished for Bendy's deeds, Blue decides to enact sweet, sweet revenge.
Quick, here he comes. As soon as we hear the glass break.
Her tongue slipped.
Okay, that was fucking stupid. That didn't make any sense. The fact that Bendy ran away that quick shows just how much the plot was on his side and they didn't care how it happened. Also, why did Blue pick up the bat when that's the one thing that's been getting all of them into trouble? And how does Coco's tongue slipping explain a rapid fire of Polaroid shots? Seriously, on top of everything that makes this scene stupid, they had to top it off with a terrible joke.
I heard the crash from over here.
He self-reported it.
I just want to live here under the caring guidance of the loving and beautiful Miss Frankie.
Look, if this wasn't already fun to watch, what makes you think doing it over and over and over would make it any better? Also, the fact that the two of them have been so out of character and immediately absorbed the ass-kissing just makes me even more pissed off.
You gotta believe me. Guys, you gotta back me up.
Wow, they got with the program real quick. Also, reuse shot.
I'm a big stock shirt and rather portly to boot.
You did it now, boy, oh boy.
Master Beauregard, put down that intercom device immediately.
What? I was in the bathroom.
From now on, no more TV, no more video games.
I'm not even gonna talk about this.
We'll see who has the last laugh.
Wow, for an episode so repetitively shitty, they barely try to make it funny. So after all of that, Blue launches one last final hurrah, setting off the camera after Bendy steals a cookie, sticking the photo to his hand, blasting him with ink, leading him to frantically clog a sink and flood the entire house. All of which Bendy did on his own, by the way. Blue may have set up a couple things, but the flooding was completely on Bendy.
He's been lying. He's been framing us all and playing you two for saps. I set up the camera, I put glue on the photo, I sabotaged the marker, I loosened the faucet handles, I clogged the drain, I backed up the pipe system.
Wait, hold on, what? Blue, the handle didn't pop off, it broke off. And the clogging makes complete sense to Bendy's actions. Blue going the extra mile to do that doesn't make any sense when the animation spells it out for us. And guess what happens?
Blue?
You flooded the house!
Yeah, but Bendy took a cookie.
Also, Blue, if you would have just said nothing, you probably would have gotten away with it. How Bendy got caught actually had incredible potential, but it fell flat because of exposition and animation inconsistencies.
Blue, what did you do?
And that's how it ends. After everything Bendy does, he gets no karma. He is never punished, and Frankie and Harriman won't even try to believe that he may be involved with anything. It's just nothing but 14 minutes of slander and uninteresting conflict that pisses you off to no end. I'd say the comments from the wiki speaks for themselves. However, there is one more thing to add. There was presumably an alternate ending and extension to this episode. Apparently, Bendy actually gets his comeuppance, and both Redhead and Dr. Rabbit over here actually admit they were tricked. Also, supposedly the cut product is how they excused a poor ending, nothing else. I have no idea why this episode turned out the way it did, and from one of the veteran writers of kids media no less. This was without a doubt the worst Foster's episode to date and will, in my opinion, remain the worst episode in children's fiction.